welcome back to the journey of my YouTube channel. I'm back with another video about sequels, but before I start talking about a sequel book, I have a confession to make. I have reformed. I said in my first video about sequels that I like the Two Towers book and movie better than Fellowship of the Ring, but I just watched the extended Lord of the Rings editions of the movies for the first time, and now I understand why everybody likes Fellowship of the Ring and Return of the King better than Two Towers. There are a few really big classic moments in Two Towers, which makes it feel really long, and Treebeard and the Ents could have been a story element they brought in to increase the wonder and the depth, and it maybe could have made up for some of that, but instead they played the Ents for a comedy, which caused us to lose a lot of what the Ents were intended to communicate. And the whole part with Aragorn falling over the cliff feels so random, it makes me laugh every time. But that said, I was more impressed with Helm's Deep this time around, and the ending with Gandalf coming to Helm's Deep and then the Ents defeating Isengard hits so hard every time. I also love Gollum. He's one of my favorite characters, and I think his portrayal in Two Towers is really, really on point. So the Two Towers movie, I love it, but it's just left my list of sequels that I like better than the originals. The book that I'm talking about today is Dune Messiah, which is somewhat similar to the book from last week in that it really lives in its predecessor's shadow. A lot of people are very aware of Dune right now because, of course, the movie came out last year, but I've heard way less discussion about the other books in the series. Now, Dune set the bar pretty high. I'm following the pattern of talking about sequels to my favorite books from 2021, so you might remember from my newsletter that Dune was my #1 read last year. The main reason for that was the characters, especially the tension between them. Even in scenes where not a lot was happening externally, the world was also really immersive, and even though it was like 800 pages long, I was never bored. The other main thing that made it stand out for me was the emotions, because I think there's this sci-fi stereotype that it's either all action with alien blasters and stuff, or all cerebral theory, but Dune was never afraid to dig into all the characters' feelings as well, and that made me care way more about the story than I would have cared about just some random people on a cool desert planet. And as a side note, I was very pleased with the movie. I haven't liked an adaptation that much in a long time. So the sequel had a lot to live up to, and right off the bat it continued Dune's emphasis on really intense, multifaceted dynamics between characters. There were interesting new characters, there were side characters from book 1 who got more space. I thought the returning main characters were done well too. And again, the world building and the descriptions were absolutely mesmerizing for me. When I read Frank Herbert's writing, it feels like there's suction holding me to the book or something. I've heard people say this book was hard to put down, and I don't usually experience that. I usually have to somewhat make myself keep reading a book just because I run out of attention span. But with both Dune and Dune Messiah, it was like physically hard for me to stop reading. But fairly early on, I started to feel pretty confused about some of the character motivations, and maybe this is all explained somewhere, and I just missed it in all the dense, intricate writing. But I kept thinking things like, why is Paul doing that? Why doesn't he just do this? Or why is this antagonist in this place again? And like I said, maybe I just missed it, but I also think the answers to those basic why questions should be pretty clear, and you shouldn't just be able to skip over them accidentally. Another thing is that Dune Messiah took Dune's weirdness and dialed it up even more. There's more religious stuff and vision stuff and spice stuff than before, and I have mixed feelings about that because some of it is supposed to be disturbing. That's the point. And the characters do clearly acknowledge several times that this is not okay. It's a book about what happens when a human tries to be a messiah, but it still makes for a pretty trippy reading experience that I didn't always find super enjoyable. Also, the whole plot is built around this conspiracy to destroy Paul, but as the book went on, I felt like some threads of that conspiracy got a little bit lost. And then the end goal for the conspiracy ended up feeling pretty anticlimactic to me. I would have expected something a lot bigger and more certain to work. But somehow for all that, the climax still had me on the edge of my seat. There was a twist and some crazy personal stakes, and there was also a lot of unexpected hope. And while I definitely wouldn't say a happy ending is the right term for it, it was a happier ending than I was expecting in a lot of ways. The conclusion left me more satisfied than I thought it was going to. Speaking of coming to conclusions, I don't think anybody's surprised that I didn't like Dune Messiah better than the original. I did read that there might be a third Dune movie that covers at least some of Messiah. I'm interested to see what that might look like. But to me, Dune Messiah felt like a sequel in the sense of being a story that's just following up a bigger and stronger story and letting us know what happened to the characters. And that's fine, and if you like Dune, you'll probably want to read this too. It's just not on my better than the original sequels list. Today's t-shirt of the week is my Dr. Pepper shirt, which is an old faithful. I've had this for like 8 or 9 years, and I have it because my Bible quizzing team was really into Dr. Pepper at the time. It was kind of our team logo, mascot, unofficial sponsor that didn't actually sponsor us. So we all got Dr. Pepper shirts on my Bible quizzing team, and I was a big fan of Dr. Pepper itself at the time. I can't really drink normal Dr. Pepper anymore now that I am diabetic, but I don't know, the diet stuff is okay. I still do that sometimes. But mostly when I wear this shirt, it's because of the memories of my Bible quizzing team. Let me know in the comments if you've read and or watched Dune. I'm curious to hear what you guys think is coming in the sequel movie to the 2021 film, especially if you haven't read the book yet. I would be really interested to hear what you think is going to happen next. Or if you have read the book, I'd be really interested to hear how you think the next movie is going to adapt it. I'm also curious to hear if you want more sequel videos, so tell me in the comments if you do. If you actually want to know when said sequel videos come out, don't forget to click the bell icon so you'll get a notification when I post a new video. And until I do that, thanks for watching this video, and thanks for journeying with me. Bye!